screens of like the issues with the Zencaster, and then we'll just send them a little montage.
Yeah, you just basically built their support desk documentation right there.
Right. I do want to send them an email though and say it would be very helpful if they put like a little icon so I could see what browser the guest is using.
Oh, no doubt. That would be great.
Because I'm always like, oh, what are you using? Then I go hunt down their documentation for that specific thing, and then I am having to copy and paste it over. They should have like a little troubleshooting tab that auto paste like the steps right into the chat.
No doubt.
Something. Right? That'd be cool.
That's probably next level stuff for them.
I always have these ideas for the apps I'm using, and at the same time, when everyone contacts you with ideas, it's just like, okay, we're working on this.
Right. We're putting it in the roadmap, guys.
It's in the pipeline. It'll be here in 6 to 12 years. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Oh man. So how's your day going? Where are you at in your day right now?
Let's see. Day's going great. So my day started off, took my daughter to school, and then came into the office. I have about an hour drive into the office, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. Modern CTO being one of them.
Yeah. How old's your daughter?
She is 6, so she's in kindergarten.
She's walking and talking and everything.
Oh yeah, she's 6 going on 16, man. She rules the roost.
Oh man, does she have a cell phone yet?
Oh no. Her dad might be a CTO, but I'm holding off on all that stuff as long as I can.
So that's good though. So 6-year-olds, like her class in kindergarten, they don't all have cell phones then.
No, not that I've seen anyway.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because, when I graduated high school, I was the only one, like, I think there's like 2 kids in the graduating class that had cell phones, right? And I was one of them, and it was interesting because what we saw is rapidly the 12th graders got them, the 11th, like everyone got them in high school, and then it started bleeding into middle school, and now most of the middle schoolers but then it kind of stopped. It didn't go all the way down to, you have the baby at the hospital, and then the Apple Care team is there assigning them a device, right?
Yeah, the Apple Watch for the baby leg.
Oh, is that how you track your babies now?
That's the LoJack for babies.
We were talking about that at dinner last night. I asked my wife, I was like, what if we worked with some biotechnology company to develop some sort of like organic tracking device that embedded into the human body, and that way you could track your kids, it's powered by your body, because people that don't have physics or engineering degrees don't understand this concept of like calories or power, and your body is a giant machine that's power, right? Like you can convert it. So I was like, why don't we just make an organic sort of device that flawlessly embeds inside you so you don't know where it is, right? Because here's the problem. If it was all in the standard place, then when the kids get abducted or whatever, all the criminals know where it is, right?
That's true. That's true.
So it's tough though. It's a tough problem to solve, and I do keep myself up at night over it, because I go through it, and maybe you can help me with it. So I'm like, all right, well, then you place it in different spots, but then inevitably it's going to be a counter spot. And then like, what if you don't actually decrease human trafficking, and instead like everyone just gets harmed more? So it's kind of like, it's a tough, like you want to save the world, but without creating more damage. And then it's just like, oh, I got to go to sleep because I got a show and like a whole life tomorrow. So I'll put this on the back burner.
Yeah, you gotta work on turning that stuff off, man. Yeah, that's a tough one to solve. And the biotechnology is tricky too, because we can, as people, we can tend to maybe try to over-engineer it and take it too far. I don't know if I'm behind the putting a chip in me or putting in a tool, a tracker in my body or anybody else's body, but I understand from an engineering standpoint that the elegance behind the solution though.
Yeah, well, our human behavior, it'll take generations to get used to it, right? Because that's how everything always works. We're always like, well, that's weird because it's not what we know. And then we're a little bit, and then there's always the people that are the early adopters that are like, yeah, we'll inject, like, Musk has a chip, like, chip me up,
Maybe so. I don't know. That's outside of my mind right now.
So what's on your mind? Veryable?
Yeah. So Veryable. So what is Veryable? We have built a marketplace for on-demand labor for manufacturing. So you could think of us like Uber meets Tinder meets LinkedIn for the blue collar network.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Uber,
So if you
Tinder, LinkedIn.
For sure. So, manufacturing plants have strict budgets and strict capacities, and we're helping them solve their capacity problems by making them more flexible.
Yeah, when I was reading about what you do, I just thought to myself, this is absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, man. I'll pass those kudos on to my co-founder. He was the original carrier of the idea, Mike Kinder.
And then how'd you meet Mike?
So a mutual friend of ours, Rylan Barnes, who is a successful tech entrepreneur around here in DFW, longtime friend of mine as well, one of my best friends in college, and we were in each other's weddings and such. And he actually introduced us. He grew up with Mike and went to college with me, and knew I was looking to kind of be a technical, co-founder, do the startup thing, give it a shot. But I'd also, done some time in supporting manufacturing, and I actually worked in a manufacturing plant as a college kid too. So my partner Mike had this idea, and knew Rylan. We got hooked up, and Mike has spent a lot of time in manufacturing and in consulting from a strategy standpoint for manufacturing plants. And so we pitched the idea to me, and it's like, that makes too much sense not to do. Let's do it.
So then how did it get started? So you meet Mike, Rylan introduced you guys, you have this awesome concept, and then where do you go from there? You get the money, develop a business. Like, how did you go about it?
Sure. It's a great question. Cause I think every startup has a different story there. So we jumped right in and started building a prototype. So I have before Veryable, or actually at the same time, I still have it. I have a development agency called Touchtap, and so what we did was jumped in and started using my resources in Touchtap to build out the prototype. So we formed the company in May 2016, and then we built the kind of prototype over the summer, and then decided to go full time with Veryable at that point after the summer. So it was about September, October timeframe. Mike decided to step away from his full-time job, and me to put sort of Touchtap on autopilot, so to speak. And we started to do a little bit of seed fundraising at that point. Friends and family. Mike sort of spearheaded all that. I contributed where I could, while still building the rest of the product. Once we started to get our seed funding, we built a team. The early team was 6 people, and primarily tech people. We started to finish out the product. We launched the product in February of 2017, which was mobile apps and a website for the platform, and sort of piloted the product through April, which was basically the end of our runway for our funding, and then started fundraising for our next round, and closed that round out in late May, early June, and expanded the team. So now where we're at, we're in DFW in Texas, and then we also have a team in Houston, supporting the Houston market. So growing pretty rapidly. There's about 16 to 18 of us now. I think 18 actually on the team total. So rocking and rolling.
That's awesome. So when did you get your first dollar from someone? From someone that, like a customer, like your first revenue dollar?
Yeah, sure. I don't remember the actual date, but I know it was in February. And
that's more than acceptable.
yeah, but I was on site that day, which is interesting, totally interesting and totally fun. So our first op is what we call it. So that's what we call our jobs or work opportunities. We call them ops. And our first op was at a small logistics company, kind of about 30 minutes from the office. And we went on site and made sure the guys were all set up, and we actually helped them do some of their work to kind of feel through how the process went, and sat on site all day with the manager and helped them work through learning how to use the tool. And he loved it, and it was super simple. And he posted more work after that. So February was the first transaction, the first dollar.
And before that, you had the supply of humans, right?
Yes. So we started. That's a great question. We started recruiting the supply of on the labor side, which we call the operators. Um, we started recruiting that in December. So December, January, and then through early February, we had been recruiting. And by the time we launched to businesses, we had about 300, 400 operators.
Wow. So these people, this is in this industry, this part-time. So this is how this industry works then.
It's not actually, which is interesting. Most people think of manufacturing as, okay, I got to hire a full-time person. It's an old, sort of an old hat kind of industry. Has an older mentality about labor. So they're not in the know of the value of on-demand labor or shared labor pools, and that's something we actually have to educate them when we approach them and sort of tell them how this can help their bottom line.
So are you doing content marketing or like propaganda to put out there so that they see that information?
We are doing some of that. That's something we're actually paying a lot of attention to right now. Starting to dabble in building videos, white papers, landing pages, to get the word out there, to kind of get little snippets of information, so people can understand the concept visually, and from the words that we're putting out there, the content. So that's something that we hadn't been able to pay a lot of attention to, just because we were focusing primarily on the product. But now we're kind of in a place where we're like, okay, let's really put some legs behind how we're delivering our message.
Yeah. So you have Mike on the business side of things, you on the product and the business, the product and the business too, right? He's your co-founder.
Correct.
And then do you have that third co-founder that's the marketing person?
So we don't have a marketing person. I have a little bit of, or I wouldn't call myself a marketing professional, but I have a little bit of exposure to the marketing world, I would say, and a little bit of that artist side that comes with the marketer. So the marketer in the relationship is me.
Yeah.
So I'm actually taking over that portion of it.
Yeah. So you're creative. You create things. I mean, you own a development. I mean, you're a creator at heart, man.
That's right.
Yeah, and all marketing is all you can do in life is try things and test them and see what works and do more of it. And so if you have the creativity and you can generate those things, and then you have the ability to follow through and execute on the actual testing and figuring out which one works, then you win.
For sure.
So are you gonna bring in a product person I had a call yesterday. It wasn't a podcast call. It was a call from London. Really smart guy. And his team's growing. They do these handmade letters, right? And they have I think they're about the same size as you in people. And his development team is in another country. And what he had done was, in the act of scaling to get to his next level with him and his co-founder, he was the product owner, essentially CTO, which is very, very common, right? Because we usually are super involved, write it, and then grow it. And then it gets to a point where we're like, we need to bring in a product manager.
For sure.
So what happened was he brought the product manager onto the team, but what he did was he hired that person in the country where the development team worked. And so it wasn't working out for him. And so we were talking about why. And the reason why is you need that person, for you to feel comfortable and for it to effectively work, for you to push a task off of your plate onto someone else so you can scale, because that's what we do as founders, right?
Yeah.
That person you have to look them in the eyes like on a regular basis. You have to be constantly seeing them. So when he put although he hired for the role, he doesn't have the reality of letting go of that responsibility. Therefore, his problem didn't get solved. So he decided he's going to move that position in-house, so he can walk up and talk to that person, look at them in the eye, and like, make sure that they understand and communicate clearly, and that way he can let go of the product more.
Right. No, that's so totally awesome that he's doing that. I mean, and you're totally right. I mean, that position, if it's someone that's not emotionally linked to what's going on in the business, then it's essentially a project manager. You're essentially just laying out a roadmap and executing on the roadmap. If you're not there feeling it, or feeling the market's responses, or feeling the founder's responses, or the customer's responses, then and sort of being in the mix of the blood, sweat, and tears, you can't. I agree. I don't think you can manage the product, which is why I think CTOs are great product managers, but it's hard to it's hard to do it all.
They're great product managers until the point where they need to bring in a product manager so that they can focus on the next stage of growth. Right. So we were talking about this. I think we've had this conversation a handful of times, but I'm not sure if on air, right? Because I do all these micro calls with CTOs in between the show calls. So sometimes I forget about which ones I talk about on the show, which ones I'm talking about on the phone. So
you're a busy man.
Yeah. Oh man, you have no idea. I'm up 5:30 now. It was 6:30, but I switched it to 5:30 because my team started coming in a little earlier. And I was like, there's no way. They're not getting the jump on me, right?
You got a good team then.
I do. So yeah, it's just that ability to be able to, for the CTO, you have to constantly, and this because you live it, you have to constantly be adjusting what you're doing as the growth occurs, right? Because you're not, if you write that code on that first app, you're not writing code when you have 40 people and $10 million, right?
That's right.
So you're constantly figuring out what works and cloning yourself, finding someone, okay, the code's written well, it's tested, it's written like this. Let me go find someone to write code exactly like this, so it's done right, and I know it's done right. You build trust with that person. You understand that they're going to do it. They start performing consistently, and then you can start fading them out, right? Because they've proven to you that they can consistently perform, and so now you're like, all right, that thing's running, that system's on autopilot and producing the code, and then you go farther up the stack and build a team around them, and then you end up doing the product manager thing where now you're not even talking with those lead developers every day. You now have a product manager that's working with them, and you're kind of, bridging that gap and doing that handoff process for a couple months of making sure that product manager is working. You're like, okay, so now my system's stable. I've got my foundation, my developers, I got my project manager, and then now I can go focus on the next level of business. And usually that's like it depends on the situation, but often if you have like a marketing co-founder, or if you're going to do marketing, that's cool. But if you have that person, then I guess the next step after product managers would be now to represent your brand more publicly through conferences, speaking engagements, producing content, and developing relationships with other CTOs that you can leverage to grow your business.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. I think you start trying to plug yourself in as a thought leader, and yeah, representing your brand there. That makes total sense. And you're touching on the whole team building thing too. That's something that's traditionally, I guess, I don't want to say harder for a CTO or a technical type person, but it's a little bit different. If you look at kind of the stereotypes for tech people, we're introverted. We like to code. We like to sit and with our headphones on and create stuff, which is awesome. That's true. I'm totally an introvert. I tend to not come off like an introvert, but so like that team building, like that relationship stuff where people trust you and want to work for you, want to like take on the task that you give them is so important as a CTO and as a leader. So to get that next level, it's the critical glue that maybe we don't talk about as much.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. Anything you do the first time is hard because you don't have lots of experience. And then even the second and third time, it's not like autopilot easy. You have to do stuff 3-5 times, get some real experience doing it. And then you start to feel some comfort in the process you've developed, and you can lean on your experience. So, I mean, the first couple times doing a startup or building a team, sorry, not doing a startup, building a team, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, no doubt. You learn a lot.
Yeah, like you've done many projects. You've been doing this for over a decade, and this project's now like really, really taken off.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, there's been lots of different things that I've done over the past decade. You know, I worked in corporate America for many years while still developing software on the side, doing contract work things, and so I get to see a lot of different types of teams, lots of different types of approaches to problems. You know, from enterprise standpoint, from a build versus buy, you know, type of conversations, and you know that I supported, or part of my team was supporting infrastructure as well. It wasn't software; it was like virtualization and supporting manufacturing plants. So I got to see a lot over the past 10 years, and got to learn a ton, which I'm incredibly grateful for.
Yeah, I saw your experience with like SCADA and different sort of physical devices listed in your bio. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, it's totally awesome. We got to work really closely with the engineering team when I worked at Alcon and supported their SCADA machines. It's pronounced SCADA, or maybe SCADA. I'm not sure. We always called it SCADA. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
I'm good at
getting,
messing. I'm good at like just saying the wrong thing and then being corrected. I love that. I'm good at that. Yeah, because everyone has their own way, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. I was butchering because there's all the like the scrums and there's all everyone has an acronym and all that stuff. And oh man, I was butchering. Oh, there's a couple technical words that I've butchered for a long time. And then I was speaking in front of a group, and everyone's like, I see their eyes going, and like, oh man, am I doing that right now? Am I the one doing that?
but you just got to go for it. You're right. Just go for it. If you're gonna get it wrong, just get
Yeah,
it really wrong.
get it really like it's SCADA, and what is it really?
SCADA.
Oh, it's it's right there too. It's like SCADA. It's like I don't know how crazy I was being, but it's SCADA. There we go.
Yeah, totally cool. I really enjoyed my time doing that at Alcon, and I got to also, you know, get an in-depth knowledge of manufacturing. You know, not only just the processes and the engineering, but the budgeting, the quality aspect, the people aspect, the planning, and how, you know, constricted the restraints are, and the constraints are. That's what constraints is a better word. Um, but you know, that really fueled a lot of my excitement for Veryable and for what we're doing here, because I sort of felt it firsthand and saw the you know, survival mentality of every manufacturing plant I supported.
So we had Don Pulaski on for CTO and we had a couple other really interesting CTOs, and we started this little trend popped up from manufacturing where there's these things, a book or this concept called like lean manufacturing principles.
Uh-huh.
Right? Have you heard this?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so it was news to me. And is it lean? Is that how we say it? No, it's lawn. It's lawn. No, I'm just kidding. Lawn So, so
Yeah, SCADA.
it's SCADA. All right.
SCADA line.
Scattalon. Scattalon processing manufacturers. Of course, of course, of course. So they took these lean manufacturing principles, and Don read this book on it, and then he's applying it to programming and like his development team, and then he's having success with it. And his team's really pumped about it. And then so I connected those people, and now I'm like, now I got to connect you in that group, right?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to be connected in that. Yeah, it sounds like he's reads some interesting stuff. That would be really interesting to hear how he used that. I mean, I could see how he used it from a process standpoint and development, but it would be interesting to hear his stories there.
Yeah, we when he replied back and they started talking in the email chain, we said what we should do is we should have like a lean manufacturing like group episode, and then we'll have you, Don, and Jake. Do you remember the episode name of the guy? Was awesome. He's in Atlanta. Jacob. Yeah, he's in Atlanta. He does stored, right? Okay. And he does, so what they do is and he was a Forbes 30 under 30, right? So what they do is they take the third-party warehouses, have extra space, and then they basically sell the space, have a network that sells the space, but they also do some analytics to improve these warehouses storage. And it's like the company's called Stored, STORD. And really cool company. And Jacob's a really cool guy.
Oh,
So
that's cool. I'd love to meet him. It sounds like we're playing in the same spaces.
right, and he's on our time. What time is Texas on? You're an hour behind us. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're Central Time.
Yeah. So he's just in Atlanta. So
Nice, cool. Yeah,
we're
I'd
all
love to
close.
connect with him.
Yeah. My family, my dad's side of the family, there's only about 80 of them over there right now. Is from Lubbock.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Windy Lubbock.
Yeah. They do they build these giant boiler systems these giant like boiler tanks that go like hotels will buy, water boiler heater things. I don't know. They're huge. They're industrial manufacturing. Oh, they manufacture them. So that's cool. Yeah. So that's what
Nice.
they do.
Cool.
Yeah. And I like it out there. It's the weather's good and lots of land.
Yeah, lots of wide open spaces out by Lubbock.
Yeah, we do the four-wheeling stuff. They have like a ranch and like we go out there and ride the four-wheelers. It's a lot of fun.
Totally. Have you driven by it's a bit south of Lubbock, but have you driven by all of the wind generators, the wind power generators? Have
Oh,
you
it's
seen those?
amazing. The fields, it's
So,
like, yeah, it's crazy.
I love them. I love driving by those. Every time I see like a 18-wheeler, pulling one of the propeller, wings or whatever. That's probably not the right word, but they're so huge, and I always point it out to my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, I know you're interested in that. You really like those."
All right, you're like,
she gets tired of me talking about them.
yeah, the propeller. We'll call them, yeah, they're propellers, right? They propel.
Sure.
We'll just say, we'll just pretend it's propellers. Yeah,
right.
they're SCADA driven propellers and
Yeah, exactly.
built with Leon manufacturing principles.
Yeah, totally.
um, we're having this guest on the show who really cool. They build these drones and they will actually fly the drones and they'll like inspect those devices, right? So like you have a wind farm, and instead of somebody going around and physically like climbing up on the wind farm and stuff, they'll have these drones go and they'll inspect the industrial equipment at like a large scale. It's very smart. What an efficiency, right?
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, that's a very intelligent move there. It'd be fun to work on.
Right? Because now when you when you notice like, oh, there's a crack in the propeller or whatever, right? Then you send a person out there versus having a person go climb up on every single one.
For sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, that's actually, I'm a little bit upset about that. Like, what a smart idea. And like all the technology was just there. Like all you had to do was go buy a drone and like set up shop and be like, yeah, instead of sending 40 people out to go climb these things up all day, we're just going to send the drone. Like everyone just opens up their pockets and is like, please take our money. Right? Like,
totally.
yeah.
There's so many ideas where I'm like that. I'm like, yeah, that was a really smart idea. Why didn't I think of that? What was I doing? Well, that idea was being generated.
Right? Like we had one yesterday we came up with in real time. So have you seen the brain scan readers that you can buy for like $300 and you can make like if you think up, the character in the video game jumps up. If you think run, the character runs. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So there's like, they've been around for a couple of years. There's probably about 4 or 5 companies that make them, and you could buy them $200-$300. They send you a software development kit and the device. You put it on your head and you think up, and it goes, and then you can control this little character on the screen or a ball, and then you can. That's like a Hello World sample app for it,
Sure.
So you can build games and do all sorts of unique stuff with it. And I thought to myself, oh, we need to buy one of those and then buy a drone. That's, that comes with a software development kit that's made for developers, right? Buy a drone, buy one of those, and then hook them together so I can fly the drone around the office with my mind.
There you go. Perfect. While you're podcasting. While
I'm podcasting. Yeah. So what I'm doing is, here we go, Jake. We're going to make it a little bit better. You ready for this, Noah? You guys pumped up? All right, here's the business. All right, here's what it does. I start thinking of the angle of the shot that I want of me, like while we're talking, and the drone goes and gets like positions itself from that and like transitions. There you go.
Done. Take my money.
Yeah, done. Well, you ever see a like an Anchorman or one of the movies where they show you behind the scenes of what it's like at a media company, like when they're in the back room and they have like the 40 shots up on the screen, you have the person calling out like which shot and stuff like that.
For sure.
And then you have another person who's like actually transitioning the shot. Eventually well, right now we could just hook it up with like an Alexa, right? That way you don't have to have the person actually hit the button. You can get whatever shot you want, but you could take it a step farther, hook it up with your mind. Now you don't have to say words.
There you go.
Boom.
Done.
And then like out of nowhere, you have to use the bathroom and like the camera just starts going everywhere because it can't read your brainwaves and it just goes nuts. Oh man, I love technology. So here's a good one for you. Does Musk? I'm in a fun mood today. I'm really excited. We were working on like money stuff this morning as a team, and we're gonna do this thing where we go around to like New York or another big city, maybe like Austin or Dallas or something. We've made friends from the show in all these cities, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around and we're gonna do like a panel at an incubator, right? So we're gonna put like 3 CTOs or like 2 CTOs and a marketing person or an investor, like, and then go to an incubator and give a talk and do like a panel and let people like ask questions and stuff like that. And we're gonna do a little modern CTO tour, going to our different cities.
Sweet. Oh, that's gonna be totally cool.
Yeah. So when we come to your city, you're in Dallas. That's where you said you drive an hour, right?
Yeah. It's a DFW. I call it DFW home, and it's enormous. But yeah, I drive in about an hour, but my office is in Dallas.
Yeah, that's for all the non-Texas people. That's Dallas Fort Worth, right? Just very large area in a very large state. So
that's right.
Yeah. That's right. So we'll come to like whatever the hotspot is around there. Is there a good tech community there?
Yeah, I mean, there is. It's it's not Silicon Valley or whatnot, but it's a growing, passionate startup community, and I'm actually pretty connected in with one of the influencers in that community. So yeah, we could get you hooked up.
Let's do it. Yeah. So we'll get you. You'll be one of the panel guests, and we'll get the influencer that's local, right? And we'll put it together, and we'll come out, and it'll be awesome. It doesn't even have to be crazy. Like if we got like 50, 80, 100 people come, that'd be so awesome. Because I was actually talking about this last night with my wife. The 18-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, the 18-year-olds, the 21-year-olds that are wanting to do these companies, like, we've done the work, Noah. We have put in the time. We have acquired the experience. And so I was thinking, I was like, oh, we're only in our 30s, right? Or at least I am. So I was thinking about that. I was like, what value do we have to bring to them? And I'm like, we have a ton of value, because if I were 18, I would go listen to someone speak who has 10, 15 years more experience than me at this, because I want to get better.
Totally. Right. That's where we are in the experience chain right now. And you're right. You're talking about the 18 and 20, 21-year-olds. If you're talking about Dallas too, SMU is right around here, and they have a really great coding boot camp. They have a lot of entrepreneurial kind of ventures that go on, some startup like hackathon things that they do. So that might also be cool to link in with them. But you're right. I mean, totally. I would do that too. I would eat that up. I would say, someone asked me once what would be my advice to my younger self, and I'd be like, start now. Don't wait. Just start doing the things now.
Aw, well, that's the last question of this. No, you listen to the show. That's how come you know it. He's like, I'm preparing for that CTO podcast. Joel's not going to get me with his Elon Musk time machine.
I didn't. Oh, I totally cut that question off. I'm sorry, man. Well, you can ask it. I'll phrase it more elegantly. How about that?
I'm a better host than that. I'm going to get you with something else, my friend.
Sweet. I'm ready.
Does Musk, we're taking bets now, does Musk make it as his goal of making us an interplanetary species? Does Musk succeed?
Good question. Because nobody knows the answers to that. So this is all speculative. I think that, I don't know if he succeeds or not. I think that he gets closer than anybody else does. I don't know if he succeeds or not.
I think he is so set on succeeding that if he were like 80 something, if he felt like he was on his like last days and he hadn't made it yet, that he would send himself in the rocket just to say that he did it.
You're probably right. I mean, I think that's the that's what's going to happen. Yeah, it's just going to take a long time to get to, if that's possible, it's going to take a long time to get to that place.
Here's why I think it will. I'll just play the other side, because I'll just do that, right?
Yeah.
110 years ago, we didn't even really have electricity, right? Like houses did not have electricity. It was just now coming about. or that's like 130 years ago. Then about, I'd say 80 years ago, we started getting like the AC in the movie theater, stuff like that, right? And then, because if you go up north, it was amazing. The first time I went to Buffalo, I was like, no one has AC. How do you live your life? Because I live in Florida and like AC is every single day we're touching the controls, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't even have it.
That's crazy.
It's below the houses they're not built with them. They don't have them. So it was just it took a second for me to comprehend the situation, right? So we do so much and so fast, and then there's like that famous picture of the Times Square, like 1919 and 1920 or 1918, 1919, where one picture it's all horses and the other picture it's all cars in 1 year, right? And then we kind of like, it is not a steady progression up, it's the exponential hockey curve, right? Because we didn't have a smartphone until a decade ago, and now if you go, have you seen the Instagram videos of the robots like nimbly running around with human-like agility?
I have seen some of that stuff. I think the most recent thing I saw was the whole Saudi Arabia robot citizenship thing.
Yeah,
I don't know
right?
if I've seen the agility thing. Yeah, it gets a little creepy.
Oh, they've got these robots that are like animal looking, like dogs and stuff style, and they run 70, 100 miles an hour, and they run with the agility of like an animal. Like it's crazy, man.
That's totally crazy and freaky.
Yeah. They have like the videos, you walk up, you push them over, and they like auto balance and get back up. Like you totally put them on their back and they do this little maneuver and they get back up and they don't skip a beat. And then here's what really got me, right? So I try to pay attention to this emerging technology as part of like, well, they're really cool talking points, right?
Sure, yeah.
So it's like material for the show, which is great, right? So I'm paying attention to this. I'm like, cool. Well, only Boston Dynamics, $1 billion plus Google Alphabet or something sell off. They're the only ones with that technology, right? Like even if you had the motors and stuff put together, the intellectual property of those devices would be so, difficult to recreate. You're only gonna have, all that stuff's, the open source community got a hold of it. And when you get 7 billion people working towards one thing, it's kind of crazy, right? Or even 1,000. So now what happened is last week, I'm like, same old. Boom, catches my eye, open it up. I see a 16, 18-year-old guy who just at home, YouTube video, very poor quality style, YouTube video, just off his cell phone. He had purchased all the motors, a couple $100, put it together. The software is all like open source, apparently. And he's showing his version of the same Boston Dynamics thing that they made. And that's when I was like, uh-oh.
That just got real quick.
It just got real. The fact that like if I had 2 or 3 months of spare time with no income required, if I was 16 again, let's put it like that, and I bought those motors and I got those open source projects and put them together and started and built that, like, dude, a poor government could do that, right? Like they could just build an army of them and put little lasers on their face. I'm not like trying to scare anyone or anything like that. I'm just, when the technology becomes so available and open, it's really interesting to see what will happen next.
No doubt. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, totally interesting. Because I feel like it either amplifies the good and not either, or it amplifies the good and can amplify some bad, some evil as well. So like you said, you get the small government that wants to take over the world and they build a bunch of robots and then we're all hosed.
Right. Luckily, some of them can't even get rockets off the ground. So we're okay for a couple years, maybe. So what are your thoughts, other than you speaking at our little modern CTO thing that we're going to be doing and doing a Q&A thing, other than that, which you've already committed to?
Did I sign something? I don't know. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, you signed up for the SCADA topic. So you'll be answering all the questions on that.
Perfect. I'm in.
What are your thoughts on you doing conference speaking, like you getting out there and talking about how you solve the problem from a technology perspective to technology people? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd love to do that. I've started to explore that a little bit, and kind of lay out sort of a plan to kind of be a part of that. I haven't, taken action yet. I kind of, we're in a place where we're pushing pretty hard here at Veryable to grow this business to basically the next level. And then, when we get to that point, there might be some more time to focus on that, maybe, go do some speaking and stuff like that. But I'm totally interested. I love to mentor younger developers. I really enjoy it. I love to sort of share my knowledge, and I really get excited when people get excited about, something either that I'm talking about or something that they're learning. So I'm totally interested in stuff like that.
Yeah, so we actually have gone down that path and have figured out that process. So we'll more than happy to share anything you want to know. You've like develop talks and then submit talks to conferences and then actually know people at conferences. And then it's like this process. So if you ever want to, if you're ever like, hey, we want to know exactly how we're doing it, we'll give you that information, no problem.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Totally. That'll be my my payment for the Modern CTO Dallas Dallas panel that I'm signed up for.
You'll get payment on the SCADA talk. You'll get payment in the form of that, and then you'll also get additional value in the form of all the emails you'll get from all the students thanking you for your information and advice, and that you'll get these emails. I'm not kidding you, man. You go talk, right, to these. We're going to go talk to these kids, maybe these CS students, maybe at the college, or get the incubators involved and local influencer involved. I'm telling you, it will happen. It does happen. Absolutely. You're going to get emails from these people be like, I heard you talk and I took a piece of your advice and it really worked and it's changed everything and you're the best. Like that happens.
For sure. No, that's totally what it's all about too. That's
right?
What it makes it totally worth it, just to help the next generation. I don't know if you have anybody on your list that you remember, like when you were coming up and learning and school, or anybody where you're like, yeah, that person really helped me a lot. I've got a handful of professors that I recall that I would even put on my resume today. I still keep in loose contact with them, that really helped change the way I think about the space, and really kind of maybe not took a chance on me, but took a moment to be like, hey, do this, and this will help the thing you're doing.
No, that's like we're meant to do life together. We're built like a Bluetooth emergency system where we all have to be really close in order for the information to travel, right? Right.
For sure.
That's what popped into my head. I can't help it. And so those people, like, no one gets anywhere by themselves. You could not do Veryable without your amazing team. We could not produce the show without our team. And that's just how life goes. We're built to need each other, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those people, of course, they're numerous. They're the people who I have all the gratitude in the world for helping me out and getting me to where, getting me up each stage. Cause it's like this constant video game where you have to be constantly leveling up. Right.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Definitely, it's the community aspect. And from my place of faith, I believe that's how our creator made it, was that for us to need each other.
Have you seen the new, I don't know if it was a joke or if it was real, but apparently in California, my wife actually mentioned this to me. They started a artificial intelligence religion.
No, I have not heard of that.
Where they're like, their premise is that we're inside of a simulation. It's like a simulation / artificial intelligence religion where I don't know. I told Michelle, right, when she mentioned it to me at dinner, right, I was like, they're probably just doing that to get the sweet charity status. They don't have to pay taxes, especially if they're in California, right? I was like, here's what's happening. This dude's starting an artificial intelligence startup, and he's going to apply as a religion so that he can get extra money because he doesn't have to pay the tax on it. He gets all these extra benefits just because he's like, yeah, it's a religion. That's what I thought he was going for.
It's all a tax ploy. Oh, that's funny. No, I haven't heard of that. I'll have to check that out because that's totally crazy. So it sounds like they think we're plugged into the Matrix, or we've
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they think that this is a simulation. If you Google simulation theory, there's a number of people who talk about it and go around and discuss it. But it's built on the simulation theory concept where we're a simulation, and there's some interesting like arguments about it. So it's, in my opinion, it's worth just perusing to see what's out there in life, right? And but it's like but then when I heard that whole church thing, I was like, I just don't think so. I just think it's a smarter way to raise money for a startup, like, right?
Right. They're acting like it.
Yeah, I believe that he's out there saying that, and I believe he's out there like fully preaching it like it's a full-on religion, so that when the IRS sees the headlines, they're like, yeah, this guy's legit, right? But I think that they are just trying to get the tax break.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out. Maybe learn a little more.
Yeah, maybe time will tell, right? So yeah, I don't know if that'll make it into the episode because I was a little bit off topic, but I was a little out there. I don't know. I like you, Noah.
Hey, I like you too, Joel. This is fun.
So Jake has a question, and we'll wrap it up instead of the time machine question. Jake wants to know, will Elon Musk ultimately end up good, or will something happen and he become an evil ruler / overlord?
This is an interesting question. Predictive of Elon Musk being an evil overlord. Yeah. That's tricky because I think it could, it could go multiple ways there. I would say I'm a believe the best in people kind of guy, which gets me in trouble sometimes, but I want to believe the best. So I'll believe that he's going to stay good. But at the same time, I could totally see him being an evil overlord as well. So I'm going to believe the best in him, though. Come on, Musk, right. You can do it. Stay good.
I'm going to cheer him on too, just out of my own selfish survival instincts. Right. Let's all believe he's good, right? Let's just all, like, everyone get together and just focus on him being very, very, very good.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody stay on his good side.
Awesome. Okay, so, dude, thank you so much.
No, thank you for inviting me. This is totally fun. I'm totally honored to be a part of it, and totally was flabbergasted to get your email. So thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, it was great. We're gonna have Jackie, and we're gonna get together. We're gonna follow up on, because I know we're doing it in New York, and I think it'd be awesome to do it in Dallas.
Sweet, that'd be great. Yeah, let me know. Let me know how I can help too. I'd love to be a part of it.
Awesome. All right. So the way that it ends